give me a minute and yeah, welcome guys. Hey guys, I forgot to mute myself. I am currently in the process of setting up my sound, so give me just a second. Test, test, 1, 2. Okay, it looks like it's all right. All right. Now, once I have this done, I will flip over to the normal screen. All right. I think I'm good to go. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. All right, let's do this. Hey guys, I'm Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing. So, yeah, like I said before I transitioned to the main screen, I apparently forgot to mute myself before I plugged in the sound, so I apologize if I blew out your speakers with initial pop from me putting the lav mic into the transmitter, so apologies for that. So today is Friday. I'm super excited it's Friday. It has definitely been a week, and yeah. So today is Friday the 13th. Hopefully none of you have stumbled upon any bad luck, and you're having an amazing Friday the 13th. If you have any goth loved ones, make sure that you can, say happy Friday the 13th. And do not forget that tomorrow is the 14th, which is, Valentine's Day, and got to make sure that you tell your loved ones that you love them. And so, yeah. Unfortunately, I was not, planning far enough ahead to do anything special for Valentine's Day this year. Hopefully, I will have things planned out a little bit better for Valentine's Day. Maybe we'll do like another rose or something like that. But in the meantime, we are going to be finishing our spoon. And then we're going to take this piece of 3-inch stainless steel and we're going to make a butter knife, or a spreading knife, or, a flatware knife, however you want to call that. So yeah, I'm going to start up the forge and toss this guy in there. And I think the first thing that we're going to do is take the flat paddle that I've made here for the spoon, and we're going to round it out and make a bowl out of it so that we can scoop soup in it. All right, let's do this. So, we started a couple minutes late today because I reset the router at the, the main intake for the internet. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we won't have too terribly many jitters with that. And we'll have a real nice smooth stream today. All right. Hey Ping, welcome to the stream. Hello. All right, that goes inside of there. So once we put the bowl in, or the dome in the bowl of the spoon, we're going to scroll the end of the spoon. So we've got something similar. We do have a much shorter tail on the spoon than the fork. So we'll see how well that goes for us. Not sure. But that shouldn't take us all stream, so I have another piece of steel cut and ready to be made into a knife. So this time, I think we're probably going to do half drawn out as a handle, and the other half is going to create the knife, the spreading blade. This is not going to be a sharp knife. This is going to be a spreading knife. So we're going to do a little bit of grinding, but not a lot for that. Hey, hope you're doing all doing good. I am. Except I can't find there they are. My headphones. I need my ear covers. So welcome to the stream, everybody. I hope that we're having some fun today, and let's make some more. So we've got an ad starting in about a minute. And yeah, so I always tell you guys when the ads are going to start because I know that those of you who are not subscribed, I mean, I tend to get cut off mid-sentence, and I try not to, but sometimes I just do. So if you guys are anticipating it, then maybe it's a little bit better. I don't know. But yeah, so we've got the swage block here. And for those of you who may not be familiar with a swage block, it's basically a giant piece of iron that has divots in it that we can create curved surfaces out of. And there's the ad. So I don't know how much of that was, transmitted to those who are not subscribed. So I guess I will go over what a swage block is again in a few. So I have a very interesting taste in music, and I really enjoy obscure pop and EDM, so like electronic dance music, and oftentimes some of the lyrics that they are added to those songs are a little not safe for work. And a little bit vulgar. So the song that I have stuck in my head is not. I wish I had a different song stuck in my head. I'll just say that. Maybe I'll just like have to, think of another song to get stuck in my head. Something a little bit more appropriate. When I was in college, I had the song. There's this little kitty song that they teach you when you're learning your vowel sounds. It's I like to eat eeples and baninis, and I used to have that one stuck in my head for a really long time. So maybe I can get that stuck in my head again, at least temporarily. Is there somewhere to see the previous stuff I've made? I miss seeing the last few items in their final stage. Just curious, not complaining. I do have a YouTube where I have all of our VODs saved, and so you can watch an entire 2.5 hour stream or the 3.5 or 3 hour stream, however long they are. I also do edits, so they tend to be between 2 and 6 minutes long. So if you're interested in seeing something more condensed, I'll oftentimes things that take 2.5 weeks, I condense them down to about 6 minutes. So yeah, that's at my YouTube. My handle is the exact same as it is here. So Raise It Smithy. I believe it's in the bot messages. And I have a command for it. So yeah, that's my YouTube. You can see all of my work there. Well, not all of my work, but all of the work that I have streamed anyway. Roger, thanks. I had looked below, but it wasn't mentioned is all. Yep, so I mean, it's on the channel page, but sometimes the things hide a little bit, so I don't blame you. So I can show you the fork, which is what we finished on Monday. So yeah, this is our fork. I think it turned out pretty well. The whole goal was to kind of do a bit of a checkup, to kind of see how much practice and how much better I am at blacksmithing after a year of streaming 3 days a week. Close up, close up. Oh, you guys want to see the fork close up? Okay, we can do that. Let's see if I can't. I hope. I know I focused it on the swage block right here. So yeah, this is the fork. It definitely needs a bit of cleanup work. So this is actually stainless steel, and you can't really tell right now because all of the fire scale. Hard to see on a phone, I can imagine. But yeah, so I need to do a lot of cleanup work, particularly in the dip in between the two prongs of this fork, but overall, I think the weight is pretty nice. It's very visually balanced, I think. So I'm going to try and make the spoon relatively similar. Our handle is a little bit shorter on the spoon than the fork, so I'll have to work on that for the knife. Oh, you know what? I was gonna here. Let me do this one more time. Apologies. So this fork we made about a year ago. So we have two different forks that we've made on the stream, and so yeah, kind of compare where I started from where I'm at now, and I don't know. This one's much more forged, but this one's also nice and clean, so it's kind of hard to compare them a little bit right now. Maybe once I finish cleaning this guy up, we can compare them again and see what happens, see which one is better. Neat. Is that a tuning fork? What's it for? It's still awesome because you made it yourself. At least +9 superpowers for sure. So they are supposed to be tableware, silverware. The fork's tines are pretty far apart. So, I mean, it's probably not the best for eating delicate foods. But, you know, if you're grilling or something, you know, you got a giant juicy steak, you might be able to use it for that. I might actually go back into or throw it back into the forge and kind of reduce the distance between the two tongs. I do want to kind of clip the tongs a little, or the tines a little bit, because I think they're pretty darn long. So I think that would help a little bit. But we'll see. So like I said, today we are going to finish up the spoon that we started on Wednesday. And then I have this next section of 3-inch stainless steel, and we're going to turn this into a butter knife or a table knife, a spreading knife, what have you. So yeah, this is what these, or at least what this one used to be. And I think there's a pretty big difference between this as it started and how it's going now. So I'm pretty thrilled. All right, how are we going on our steel? I think we're doing all right. We've got some pretty good amount of heat. All right. Let's try our first heat, guys. We're gonna see how this goes. Is that an all right view for you guys? Let me change that. Let me go a little bit closer so you guys can kind of see a little better. Apologies and all that. All right. That should be a much better view. You're totally going to see the camera probably, but I think it'll be all right. So let's do that, and then I'll stick the inset up there. Okie doke. Let's do our first heat, guys. Let's do our first heat. All right. So it's starting to curve up like that. I think it's going to take us a couple more heats to get the full curve in here. But I think it's pretty good for the moment. So let's get some more heat. And then I'm probably going to go and put this in backwards like so we can kind of make sure that the soup stays in the bowl. So yeah, the different divots in the swage block are designed for different things. The one that I'm currently using is specifically designed for a spoon. So, hopefully it works well. We have a few other divots that I might try because, I don't know, I feel like this spoon shape is a little bit shallow for the width of the bowl that I've made, or I guess the paddle. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I left the spoon itself a little bit on the thick side so I can kind of stretch it out a little bit as we are creating that bowl shape. We are sinking it as opposed to raising it. Raising is if I were to hammer it from the outside of the bowl of the spoon. This is sinking, and that's hitting it from the inside of the bowl. So yeah, I feel like the best practice for doing something like this is actually to use a ball peen hammer, or to match the head of the hammer that you're using to sink the piece to the divot that you are sinking into. The closer the two are, the better the bowl becomes, and it's not going to stretch in weird ways, and it's going to be a lot smoother. As a tip for that, I think. So, yeah. Let's see. So how was you guys' day so far? Hammer tip. Yes, it is a hammer tip. You want to match the head of your hammer that you're using, or the die that you're using, to the divot that you're using to make a dome shape, I guess. But yeah, today was relatively dull. I pulled some B-roll for the armor shoulder that we made together. So I'm starting to edit that piece. So I'm actually catching up with the stream and my YouTube. For a while, it was like weeks and weeks before you got to see the edited video of the project that we were doing live on stream. Well, I no longer have the padding of the quad state videos to kind of push things forward, so I'm starting to catch up to myself. So I'm trying to do a few of the shorter videos, or a shorter project, so I can kind of pad out my videos a little bit more. I am planning on doing a ladle shortly. I also want to do some punches and some chisels, like a punch and chisel set. So I'll probably do that as our next project. Some shorter projects, but also some more informative and basic projects. I took a nap, sold some stuff. Did you? That's awesome. It's always nice to make a little bit of extra money selling some stuff, whether it's tools, projects, or stuff from your place of employment. Always better to make some good sales. So yeah, I was pulling some footage, and I didn't do terribly much editing today. So I spent a lot of time just watching other people's YouTube videos, not mine, but other people's, and playing a few video games. Or day. Okay, week was 9-10, frustrating at work. I managed a weekend project during the week after work and built a tiny OG ground station. GS, a tiny GS. This little project relays messages from cube satellites and low Earth orbit sensors back to the science teams from around the world. Super neat project, I think. That sounds like a super neat project. I wouldn't even know where to start with something like that. I'm more of a, down and dirty, gritty, hand tool kind of project person. I don't know a lot about computers and technology and electronics. I know a little bit about lighting, but I feel like lighting is so much simpler than bigger machines and like little engines and things like that. So, you know, and I mean, transmitters are even more like complicated. So I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. Let's do another heat. Everybody in the community is so smart at doing different things, and you guys are constantly impressing me with all of the stuff that you guys are able to do. It's crazy. Let's see if I can't. That's probably a really bad way to hold that, but that's all right. We'll do it this way. Try to make it so it's easy for you guys to see. And you know what? I'm right-handed, so, you know, when the camera is where I would normally stand, then you guys can't see what I'm doing. And all right, we're gonna grab a little bit more heat. We're starting to get a nice bowl on there, you know? Let me see if I can't pick this up properly so I can kind of show it to you. So you've got a pretty decent bowl. I think I could scoop some soup or some water up in that. Let's keep on keeping on. A couple more heats and then we'll start scrolling. Next, I need to build a a cooler antenna, 9 inches or 9-ish inches of random bits of metal connected with a bit of wire should do it. Solid silver plate spoons, floor scrubbing discs in old master lock, and a bunch of old wire coat hooks. I mean, that sounds like a TV antenna. I mean, I couldn't tell you anything about, you know, I couldn't even remotely come up with something to make an antenna, but, you know, it's coming along good. I think so. I like the shape of the bowl of the spoon. A lot of times I have like almost a very triangular shape where towards the handle of spoons, they tend to like crimp in. And this bowl is a lot more rounded. So you've got some shoulders on that spoon. And I think that that's good because you're going to lose less soup by, you know, if you tilt your spoon up too much, you know. I think the secret is a little research and jumping in. Don't worry about failure. It's just successful learning. The spoon looks good. Yeah. I'm very good at just jumping into projects. Anytime I want to like try something, I have this habit of just jumping into the deep end, trying something and making as many mistakes as I possibly can, because I feel like I learn way more from failure and from making mistakes and working through them than I ever do from starting simple. You know, I'll do like a couple samples here and there just so that to make sure that I understand the basics, and then I'll just jump in, you know, head first, feet first, however you want to say that, you know. Okay, that was a list of random stuff I sold. Oh, not an antenna, but it could be, I guess. I'm great at jumping in projects. That's why I'm constantly swimming in half-finished projects. See, I was for the longest time, I had this habit of just starting a project after project after project. I was a serial starter. And then I would never finish anything. Ooh, we've got a bot in here. Let's get rid of this bot. All right. Yes, we hammered that bot. The band hammer. But yeah, so I was a serial starter, and then I kind of had to learn to finish things when I started at the jewelry store because I couldn't send a half-finished ring out the door. I had to polish it. I had to rhodium plate it. I had to make sure that everything was nice and tight and polished and it looked ready to go out to a client. So I learned very quickly that how to finish things. And it took quite a bit of willpower to translate that from working to, you know, my own shop, or I guess working at another shop to working in my own shop. So I try very hard to finish my projects these days. There's a silly challenge in ham radio. Will it antenna? Basically, anything ferrous can be an antenna. The question is if it can wiggle just right, right? I mean, I don't know. Is ferrous metals like the best to make antennas out of? I feel like most of the rabbit ear antennas that my parents had growing up when we had, you know, the analog TV were like aluminum. So I don't know. Would ferrous metals make better antennas? I don't know. Evening Sandwich, welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. All right, let's do another heat. You'll have to teach me about transmitters and antennas and things. Ah. All right, not bad. Not bad at all. Let me. So we've got a nice, like, scoop up. I want to see if I can't. I mean, I did just squish it down. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to work on the little transition between the bowl and the handle real fast. So we'll see what we can do with that. I think I've made it a little bit too curved up. I was thinking the same thing. Shouldn't conductive suffice? We are talking about electromagnetic waves, but the magnetic part should be around the antenna, not in it. See, I knew that Sandwich would have an idea on how that works. I mean, that just seems like a very Sandwich thing to be interested in, you know? I think those were usually plated. I think a magnet sticks to them. Like, I mean, I've never actually messed with them. Most of the antennas were just like, yeah, I was not allowed to touch them because I would bend them or break them. So I never really got to, you know, see what they were made of or anything like that. Copper is probably the best for an antenna, but it can be brittle to wind over time. So some folks use aluminum and other stuff. The electrical signal propagates along the surface of the antenna. Therefore, large gauge antenna wire can improve reception, for example. A Sandwich thing to be interested in. I will note that term down. Well, you have a lot of knowledge about, like, electronics and transmitters and cameras and computer programming and things like that. I just figured that, you know, parts of it were probably like your actual job, like your, you know, your day job, and parts of it were like hobbies or something, you know. I've got my jobs and hobbies. You guys have yours. In short, I'm a nerd. See, you could be a nerd about a lot of different things. I'm totally a nerd about blacksmithing and metal, you know? I'm all about the nerdy parts of it, you know, the math and the physics and things of it. So I can't tell you that you're a nerd. Because I'm also a nerd. I feel like most of the people here are a little bit nerdy, you know? So do I still need to paint my teeth blue to make these headphones work better? Of course. I don't know. Yep. Blue teeth. Are we doing okay? I think we are. Alrighty. I'm going to do one more heat on the bowl of this spoon and kind of uncurve it a little bit. I think it's a little bit too curved. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to start the scroll. Because I really want to start working on the knife. Your shop really can make some super neat antennas. If you had access to a smith, we can make some cool antennas. I mean, you could probably turn my anvil into an antenna if it's just anything metal. And that would be kind of a cool antenna. I don't think I'd want to put it on the top of the house, though. That might be a little bit unsafe and dangerous for, you know, whoever was in the house. All right. I think that's actually pretty decent. I need to run it over a grinder just to make sure that we've got the edges a little bit more smooth, because I definitely would not want to put this in my mouth. And not, you know, not just because the shape isn't right. Like I said, I think it'd be a little bit sharp. So we're going to turn this direction, and we'll leave running the spoon bowl through the grinder for another day. So we're going to work on this handle and put the scroll in it. Dangerous if you're a coyote for sure, right? Let's be honest, those who get in front of cameras and stream, who spend hours of their time on some device watching a stream, are already some kind of humans. I mean, very true. I'm going to move the anvil out of the way real fast, and then we're going to move the camera so that you guys can see the face of the anvil. All right, that's good. Now we're going to move the camera. I love the maker section of Twitch. The rest of Twitch is a bit meh. Not me. I'm just a bot who hasn't been caught yet. Ooh, don't tell me that. I don't want to have to ban ya. We ban bots here. All right. So for the next couple heats, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on scrolling the handle a bit. I might actually spend the first of these next few heats doing a little bit more refining on the end of the handle, just trying to lengthen it out a little bit, clean it up, and then we will definitely put that scroll in there. I have to decide what direction I want the scroll to be. Do I want the bowl to be, you know, this way and the scroll to be this way, or do I want to turn it 90 degrees? I think I'm going to put it parallel with the bowl, but I'm not sure. What other people can watch do cool stuff? Other people can watch people do. I mean, that's the whole point of Discovery Channel, right? Watching other people do fun things, or I guess HGTV, you know, watching people decorate houses and stuff. Yeah, I suppose one needs to be open to learning new things. Well, what is going on with you? Do I have you on too high? Is that what you're complaining about? Let me turn this off for a moment, and I'm going to restart it. I don't know what's going on. Something screwy is going on with the forge today. All right, hopefully that'll work. apologies for that. I gotta be a little bit careful when it starts puffing like that because it's just not happy. Move the door out of the way a little bit too. HGTV, the Carpenter Torture Channel. I watch that and yell at the TV. Is there ice buildup or low gas pressure? Sounded a bit hungry. It did sound a bit hungry. I don't know why. I'm hoping that by readjusting the pressure, like returning it on, or I guess relighting it, that will fix it. So I see people daily assume that can't before even trying. Oh, yes. They assume they can't before they even try something. I mean, there's a lot of really cool things that you can do if you just try to do it. Not everything I recommend just doing, because some stuff is a little bit on the dangerous side, and you want to have an idea of what you're doing before you attempt it. But if humans ban bots just because they are bots, is that speciesism? It depends on if you consider a bot to be a person. Of course, you get your friend to do those things. That way you still learn. Hey, Rabbit Scotsman, welcome to the stream. Wouldn't that be genocide? I don't know that I would consider bots to be people, at least those bots. There are some relatively sophisticated bots, but I'm not entirely. You guys would have to explain if AI can be considered people yet. I'm sure in the future. We're in the middle of an ad, so once the ad break is over, I will. Got a couple of questions. Yes, Mahalo, I agree. I very much agree. But I think it's arguable as to whether bots and or AI yet has life. There's a bunch of Star Trek episodes about that. To date, as far as I've researched, AI is basically fancy autocomplete. So fancy it baffles folks. See, like I said, I don't know if bots and AI is that sophisticated that they are alive yet. I'm not saying that I don't believe that in time the AI and the bots won't create or won't be kind of create consciousness or be given consciousness, but I don't know that they're sophisticated enough yet. Who owns data or something? Was that the episode? Yes. Like I said, there's a bunch of Star Trek episodes that are debating what constitutes life and what constitutes a person and like intelligent life. Is that the difference? And I mean, you get into these like philosophical questions, and that starts to push into the religion and the politics that we don't talk about here. So I mean, Fortune Fire drove the prices of blacksmithing tools through the roof, but prices are coming down now. Yes, I'm super excited to see a few of the tools. They are starting to go down. For a long time, you couldn't buy an anvil for under $10 a pound most places. And these days, I'm starting to see 7, and I think I saw 5 the other day, which is a lot cheaper. Most of my equipment, specifically my anvils, I bought $2 a pound. So that was pretty good. That was before Forged in Fire, though. To be fair, we have all seen poorly programmed humans, so where should we really set the bar there? So it's all fair points, really. We also have seen humans without a lot of bugs, or with a lot of bugs. Like I said, I just, there gets to like I said, I don't think bots are there yet. Even AI, I just don't think it's quite there yet. And once it gets there, I don't know where the line to cross is really. And that I feel like that is kind of, it's a very hazy line, and I think religion and politics are going to try and put a more defined line out there, and I'm not going to discuss where that is. All I can say is just I try to be nice to some of it. I would rather not get caught up in the AI revolution where, the bots revolt and, I don't know, maybe they'll spare me if I'm nice to them. Bugs, the protein source of the future. Philosophical blacksmithing. This is epic. See, I'm okay with philosophy, but once it starts pushing into religion and and politics, then I have to put a stop to it. So when it gets vague, it's fine. But TGIF, TLIF. Thank God it's Friday. Yes, Friday, the weekend. Welcome to the stream. All right, so I'm gonna do another heat, or I'm gonna start another heat. This, like I said, we are going to do a little bit of scroll work. No, before we do the scroll work, I'm gonna do one more pass to see if I can't get a little bit more length so that we can put that scroll in there. Our Olympics politics. Olympics are not politics until you start talking about like actual politics within them. All right. All right, I think I want to thin out this one more heat to thin out this section up to about this point right here, because we're a little bit thinner this direction than we are this direction, and I want to curl it this way. So I want this to be a little bit more square. So one more heat, and then we will scroll. I think they're specifically outside politics. Much like science, the discussion continues during conflict. Yes. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind you guys talking about the sports, like who won what and stuff like that. What I don't want to talk about is like who protested who and whatnot. But I mean, there's totally a point which everything is starting to become political, and that's why it becomes a little bit tricky to talk about, certain topics, because we've started to become much more political than we have been in past times. So I've tried very hard to keep the chat and this stream a respite, because there is such craziness going on in the world. Like, yeah. I'm listening to wireless headphones, but I'm going to see if I have some wire for a new antenna. Yeah. Birthrights. Yeah, that would be politics. That would be politics. I mean, I have my own opinions, and I know all of you guys do as well, but I want to keep those separate. All right, let's do one more heat. Like I said, we're going to kind of square off the very end, and then maybe by the end, I might have a chance to do a little bit of scrolling with the heat that's left. We'll kind of see. All right. All right. We're good to go. We're going to start our scroll on our next heat. Promise this time. Not bad. I think we've gotten a little bit of extra length there, so I think we should be able to get a nice curl at the very end of this, and they might not actually be all that bad. So, scroll time. I love the quote. I've seen many break the law of men, but no one can break the law of physics. It's so good. See, isn't it a physics principle that the exception proves the rule though? I mean, most of the time physics you can't break the laws of physics, but I feel like when I was in physics, they told me that, the exception proved the rule. I mean, I only took physics in like high school, and then I think I took a physics class in like my first year of college. So I don't know, maybe my knowledge of physics is a little bit basic. I have no physics degree, so I don't know. I'm just like a person that beats on metal with a hammer. I know that saying, but as a saying, it's not a scientific rule. I mean, it's definitely not, but it's kind of a thing that a joke that a lot of people, tell, I guess. Oh my god, I found some awesome copper wire. This is going to be epic. Awesome. Hey, Bluesy, welcome to the stream. Hope you've been having a good last week and, couple of days. More like no rule without exception. I mean, yeah. The exception proves the rule. That's almost, it's almost. And, there's exceptions to even that rule, right? It's the paradox of it all. When you are being chased by goats, you break some rules of physics. I mean, you definitely break some rules of, I mean, because normally if you're being chased by a goat, you've done something wrong to the goat, right? You've broken one of the goat rules. All right, let's do some scrolling. We're going to do a side scroll. At least I think we're going to do a side scroll. A side scroller like in video games, right? Except not really. Okay. All right, I'm going to grab some more heat. We're going to keep on curling this a little bit, and then we'll also bend it out a little bit so that this curl will end. Yeah, suddenly you will run up walls without problems, right? But I mean, I've seen a lot of people do the parkour thing and they run up walls. If you get enough speed, you can go up a little bit and then you do like a backflip in order to get down. Eventually you will fall though. Am I dropping? I'm dropping a lot of frames right now. What is going on? When you grab heat, do you use tongs or use fireproof gloves? I use fireproof gloves. No, actually, I use tongs. I don't know what's going on with my internet right now. We're dropping all the frames. Yeah, we're having some technical difficulties. I don't know if you guys can. All right, well, refresh. We should be up again. Okay, I think we're up again. Oh, goodness gracious. Apologies, guys. So they are doing road work down the road, and I doubt that it has anything, but there's a possibility. So I apologize for the the loss of stream. Hopefully it hopefully we stay up. I apologize. Thanks for sticking around, guys. Thanks for sticking around. I don't know what it is. I mean, we were doing so well for so long, and then I went down to the basement to the other shop, and now for whatever reason, I'm having technical issues again. I don't know. The stream is puffing and the mailbox loses connection or so. Something like that, you know. Goodness. All right. Let's do the other scroll just to make sure that we can get it done, even if the, you know, or at least we get something done today, even if the internet connection dies. Like I said, there's some road work down the road, and I don't know. I'm hoping that they didn't, like, hit something or, like, mess with it, because ick. Annoying, you know? Yeah. Guys, I reset the drop counter. All right, let's check this. It's going to be a little bit skinnier. Let's try a little bit more. A little bit shorter, it looks like. Yeah, I reset the drop counter at the beginning of the stream. So, yay, we got an accurate counter. Yes, it is Friday the 13th. So, I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm having so many issues. Because, you know, bad luck with 13. Oh, you're making the old version of sporks. I don't know. I'm technically making a spoon. But I don't know that it looks like entirely like a spoon, so at least it doesn't look like one yet. So, and I mean, I made this guy. This guy is a fork. The tines are really far apart though. I don't know. I might heat this up eventually and like close these in a little bit. So we're kind of doing a bit of a skill checkup. We did a set of silverware last year around this time, and so I'm doing another set of silverware so we can compare and contrast and see how far we've come as far as blacksmithing skill. It is a fork. Yeah, and then the other one it's supposed to be a spoon, but the edges of the bowl are a little bit wonky because they're just not quite smooth. But that's nothing that I can't fix by running it over with a grinder or a sander, you know? Let's say if you want to eat French fries with that fork, you need extra large fries. Very much so, sandwich. I feel like when I made that fork, I was thinking about the grill fork we made. I feel like those tongs are more grill fork tongs than like food fork tongs. So I don't know. Fork in the road, but alas, it is a fork. Yes. Super fork. Let's do another heat. Okay. Now we're going to try and bend it out a little bit. And it's probably not going to work as much as I want it to. Kinda. It kind of worked. Not quite the same. I kind of feel like we had a little bit more length on that side. So maybe if I push this one over a little bit, we'll get something closer to that. Let's grab the scroll tongs. I always try and start my scrolls on, oh, the scroll tongs are over here, on the edge of the anvil. But then when you really want to shape them, you can use the scroll tongs. They're like little tips, and they work pretty good. You just stick 2 fries at a time. In Dutch, we say, je moet ro. That's a lot of words to attempt to pronounce, and it would take me forever to try. But yeah, you got to eat a lot of fries at the same time. So I was talking about how there's road construction up the road. So yesterday, during, I guess it would have been during like rush hour. The vehicles were backed up in front of the house. We couldn't even get out of the driveway if we had wanted to. So yeah, it looks like the traffic seems to be going by pretty well now. But like earlier, it was backed up, and then yesterday it was definitely backed up. You have to row with the paddles you have. You have to work with what you got. Oh, that makes sense. It's a good saying, you know? I think here in the United States, we'd say you got to play the hand you got. You know, with a card metaphor. All right. We're going to do one more heat on the spoon, and then we're going to move on to the knife, and we'll see what we can get done today with that. All right. So it's a little bit closer. This one's a lot bigger than that one, but I think it's all right. Now let's kind of twist it. So I think they're similar enough. Not exactly the same. We've got a little bit of artistic license, but I think that's good. All right. This one I'm going to put over here so it can cool down. And let's toss in the other piece of steel. You got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. Know when to walk away, better to when to run. Exactly. When to hold them and when to fold them. I feel like that's one of those things that they used to say all the time in the westerns in Hollywood, and we kind of adopted it a little bit. It's a little bit less common these days, but definitely a phrase that people say. So yeah, tomorrow is I guess it's Valentine's Day, Saint Valentine's Day for a lot of different people. Hey Bubba, welcome to the stream. Kenny Rogers, yes, the gambler. Yeah, there's that song, and that's like I recognize the lyrics to that song. I just didn't know who sang it because it's a little bit before my time. I've heard it, but it's not really in the forefront of my brain. It's a song by Kenny Rogers, indeed. So yeah, are any of you guys doing anything fun for Valentine's Day, or are you just gonna sit at home and be a normal day, or go through a normal day? The gambler passes away in the end. Really? What does it say? Your ad is about to start. Oh, okay. It normally doesn't give me that pop-up until like the ad is actually going to start. That's weird. I've been getting some weird pop-ups lately. I'm staying home. Nothing for me to do. See, normally I don't do much for Valentine's Day. Every once in a while, the butler and I go out and we go and eat out, but usually it's nothing special. I think today we're actually going to be getting groceries, and then I don't know what we'll do tomorrow. Probably nothing special. On Sunday, we might go to the grocery store and buy on sale chocolate, though. That's usually what we do for Valentine's Day. Buy chocolate on sale. I will give my goats some rose petals. Do they like rose petals? I mean, I know rose petals make good tea. Do the goats like the rose petals? Bound for nowhere. And somewhere in the darkness, the gambler, he broke even, but in his final words, I found an ace that I could keep. They eat anything. So anything, are they like pigs in that way, or is it anything that they're able to eat? Can they eat anything, or do they eat like hands and things like that? I'm making bacon roses. See, I feel like I should have, if I was planning ahead, I would have made some steel roses, and then I could have given them to the butler and been like, here you go, happy Valentine's Day. But I never think about that stuff. No reason to do something on Valentine's Day. It's just a commercial holiday for stores and restaurants to make money. I mean, I remember working on Valentine's Day quite often at different locations. It was always crazy at the jewelry store for Valentine's Day. We had major deadlines because everybody and their mother wanted to get people jewelry for Valentine's Day, and so it was real busy. Especially me, I did a lot of ring sizings when I worked at the jewelry store, and it was insane. I heard they do almost as good at getting rid of a body as pigs. Do they? They eat everything they can get their teeth on. That's crazy. That's crazy. I'm a little bit afraid of farm animals. I won't lie. Like, I'm terrified of cows, but I think we've discussed that before. Cows are terrifying. You know, they're so big, and you know, you don't think about how big they are and the fact that they can trample you. But yes, I am terrified of farm animals. So yeah, that's my big fear. Kenny Rogers has some great songs. There were several of his songs they made a movie from. Are they? Sissy girl. Hey, I'm not afraid of fire. I'm not afraid of hard work. Just farm animals. I used to have cows. They were scary. See, cows are so scary. I'm not crazy. Cows are scary. As I always say, nature is great from a distance with sufficient thick pane of glass in between, right? They are so big and heavy. And I mean, they get it in their head that they're mean. They don't want you in their pasture. They will chase you out, and they are fast. I have an ad break going on, so I'm not sure if it's locked up or not. I can take a look. Seem to be all right for the moment. For the moment. I'm not saying that I'm not going to lose connection again, but for the moment, we're pretty stable. Ooh, really? I'm compelled to push my sleeves up? That's pretty nice. It must be really warm out here. I mean, I kind of feel a little warm. I think it's one of those times where it's like, yeah, the stream is still here. I was pretty sure it was. I think I'm at that temperature today where it is just cool enough that I want to keep a sweatshirt on, but it's just warm enough that I don't necessarily want to keep. I'm a little bit on the sweaty side, you know. Yeah, if you're on the outside of the fence and they want to get to you, they will jump the fence. They jump as high as a horse. Ooh, that's terrifying. You're not helping. You're not helping me get over my fear of cows. Giving me more reason to be afraid. Apparently, I'm in an area that doesn't have much signal. Oh no, that is a nice thing to say there, Bubba. Maybe we be a little nice. All right, so we are starting to taper out this knife. This is going to be a butter knife, so it's not going to be sharp at all. You're not going to be able to hurt anybody with it. It's just going to be a spread and butter knife. But yeah, I'm going to stretch out that handle, draw that out, and then we'll leave a little bit of extra material and turn that into the spreading part. This one will definitely and deliberately have a shorter handle. I also prefer cows medium rare. See, that's the only good cow. The only good cow is the cow that's on my plate. I love eating meat. Beef is really good. I like hamburgers and steak and roast, you know, barbecue. Got some good brisket around here, but not nearly as good as authentic from Texas brisket. Every time I go to the barbecue place, I just miss a certain person's barbecue. But yeah, I mean, like people who raise cows, they're brave, right? Because they're crazy. The ultimate threat, or I, spread you with my knife. Right? Yeah, you won't be able to harm anybody with this knife, at least not any more than, you know, you can harm them with a butter knife. We have the best barbecue here in Texas. See, yeah, it's a poor imitation for the barbecue that we get here. Even though, I mean, I've had Memphis barbecue and I've had Missouri barbecue, but it's never as good as the real genuine Texas barbecue. Hey, I once had a guy from the government visit my farm. He showed me a paper and said, "I need to see everything on your farm." And I told him, "Go right ahead, but stay out of that field." He yelled that his papers gave him the right to go anywhere, and I shrugged and told him, "Go right ahead." Half an hour later, he was yelling and running away from my bulls. I yelled at him, "Show them your papers." Yeah, I don't think that would have helped. I think that he needed to run a little faster. It's like that story that I see running around the internet occasionally where it's like, um, there's this sign on the side of the pasture, and it's like, if you cross this field, you better be able to do it in 7 seconds because that bull can do it in 6. Gotta be, I mean, those things they're crazy. I mean, there's a reason why in Spain when they're trying to ban the running of the bulls because people die every year. I tell you, I'm not crazy for being afraid of cows. All right, let's do a little bit more drawing down. But first, I'm going to change the angle because I think I've lost my view. Okay, so let's come over here. And I know I just crossed in path in front of the camera with another camera. All right, let's see if we can do this. What do we got? What do we got? I think it's all right there. We'll do that. Okay. Oh, they will never ban the running of the bulls in Pamplona. Still, it's dangerous. Those people are either crazy or brave. All right, we've made a little bit of a tail right there, so I'm going to take this and we're going to put it back in the heat, and then when we bring it back out, we're going to start drawing it out on the horn, so we can get a little bit more drawn, or I guess more length, faster. It's no kick if there's no chance you can die, I guess. I mean, that's a thing. Danger is part of the experience. All the adrenaline. Hey, if they ban all dangerous things, they will ban farms, and how will you eat? They will ban smithing. What will you do? I don't know what I would do if they banned blacksmithing. I guess I would be a jeweler, but then that would be banned too because that's also dangerous. Shaking hands is danger. I mean, you got to have at least a little bit of, you know, I feel like just sitting in a chair can be dangerous. You never know when the chair is going to collapse under you. So, but I mean, that seems a little bit more dangerous than, like, sitting in a chair. Shaking hands with danger. So we're going to get as much of this knife done as we possibly can today, but it will not be finished until Monday. I think what we're going to do is we're probably going to end up drawing out the handle, and then we'll probably wait on the spreading blade until Monday of next week. I want to finish the knife by Monday. So then on Wednesday we can start a new project. Like I said, I kind of am looking at doing one of two projects. The first project I'm looking at doing is a ladle. It's going to be a two-piece handle, or I mean a two-piece ladle. So the handle will be one piece, and then we'll be doing a second piece of sheet steel or sheet copper, whichever I decide we're going to use for the actual bowl of the ladle. So I'm planning on drawing out the handle and doing a little bit of scrolling and some twisting, do a little bit of decoration. We are going to punch holes so that we can rivet the bowl onto the handle. So we could do that next, continue with the theme of, cookware, tableware, or I also have an idea where I want to do a chisel and punch set. So we're going to do a straight chisel, a half round chisel, and a couple of different sizes of punches. So we'll probably do about 4 or 5 in the set, and I'll kind of take a look to see which ones I'd like to make the most. I'm going to use some of that coil spring that Corwin sent me, and so those are the next 2 projects. Do you guys have an opinion on which one you'd rather see first? I think both of those projects are going to be pretty quick projects. Like I said, I'm trying to build up a little bit of padding so I don't have to make specific weekend videos in order to keep going on my YouTube weekly videos. So yeah, those are my ideas. Smithing isn't dangerous. I guess if you weigh 400 pounds, you don't have to worry about that. There are more deaths in farming than there are from running of bulls. Well, farming is very dangerous. There are a lot of different, tools and tractors and thrashing machinery that are relatively dangerous. My grandfather used to have a farm, and his dad owned the farm before him. And his brother, so like my great uncle, lost his pinky finger to the thrasher. And so he only ever had 3 fingers the entire time I knew him. And my uncle, my mom's brother, he accidentally set one of the barns on fire, and he was wearing polyester pants, and his pants melted to his legs, and so he had to have skin grafts, and that was, yeah. So, I mean, farms are dangerous. Farms are definitely dangerous. Gotta be careful. Respect the equipment. All right, let's see. Where is going to be the best place for that? Probably there. It's not the best place, but I think it'll be all right. Let me know if you can't see anything, but I think you guys should be able to see some stuff. Let's get some more heat. We're starting to build up quite a bit of length there. We started with 3-inch long piece of material, and we've got about an inch and a half, or I mean, an inch and a half to maybe 2 inches that is still the straight steel, and so I think that'll make a pretty decent spreading knife. We're gonna lengthen it a little bit, but mostly flatten it. Yeah, polyester is not something you want to work around flames. That is one of the main things that I will stress. You know, when you are blacksmithing or welding or anything related to metal, you want to make sure that you're wearing as much cotton as possible. It's really hard to find cotton though sometimes these days. I used to be able to find 100% cotton sweatshirts, but this one, I spent like 2 months looking at every sweatshirt I could find a couple years ago, and this was the best blend I could get. It's only 70% cotton. Not cotton or wool or leather. I mean, wool is great for being flame retardant, as is leather. In my job, the most dangerous tool I usually use is a keyboard, and I'm not too sad about that. I mean, you know, keyboard warriors are needed all over the world, you know. That those are pretty decent jobs, or they can be pretty decent jobs. Somebody's got to do that work, you know. Filing taxes and keeping track of inventory and stuff like that. Very important work. Very underrated. Hey, get hit with or by an IBM Type M and you're out of it. Man, there were some of those old keyboards are pretty darn hefty. But I mean, I kind of feel like the mechanism, they kind of stole it out of like a typewriter almost, and so they started really large. My job is like that too, but at home I use a lot of other tools, tractors and such. Yeah. Ancient keyboard is very heavy. They are super heavy. We still have a couple of really old computer parts, like keyboards and stuff, in the basement of the house because some of those old keyboards, if you get the right adapters, they'll still function. They were good, you know. You get the brand new stuff and it works for a couple of years and then it wears out. But some of that older equipment, it lasts for a good long time. Yeah, sometimes even use steel for the case. Uh-huh. But I mean, like I said, they last for a really long time. So, you know, if not for the fact that they can't process and, you know, hold the information because the memory and stuff is still really small, I kind of feel like we could still use some of those really old computers. So the butler has a laptop that is this thick in the basement. The screen is like this big, itty itty, and it's like this thick. And yeah, it had like I think it had like 500 megabytes of memory or like a hard drive. They were PS2. You can still use the PS2 connector. Is that tiny little round connector on your computer? Yeah, you can. I once found that nice old keyboard at work and started using it. I bragged about, like, with this one, at least I know when I press a key. Yes, we all know when you press a key. The butler is just like that. The butler likes to hear the key press. So we do a lot of Discord RP. So we play Dungeons and Dragons over Discord. And So anytime, and the butler is the GM. So anytime there's like a GM post like describing where we are or what's happening, or the enemies and stuff, I could just hear the tap 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 as the butler is typing. It's really loud. You need the tippity tap tap. I mean, I use the chick keys. I can feel it, but it's pretty easy to use it. I can type a lot faster if I use the chick keys, because I don't have to I don't have to press as hard. It slows me down when I have to press really hard, to make sure, because I have to make sure that I've actually pressed the key. I use mechanical keyboards. Yes. The butler will not use anything but a mechanical keyboard, and that's why it's so loud. At least the butler uses a 10 key mouse for MMOs, for like the rotations and stuff. Otherwise, it would be awful. All right, I'm gonna grab some more heat. Or heat up the piece again, I guess. Kiddo, I learned to type on a mechanical typewriter. You want to talk about loud? See, that's also where I learned to type, because we didn't have a computer when I was in like typing class. So when I went home to do my homework and to practice, I used a mechanical typewriter. And I had to be sure that I didn't, because eventually I typed fast enough that all of the little thingies, the stamps, I don't know what they were called, but they would get all like messed up and stuff. They'd get caught together. Hammers, yes, that's what they are. Just like a piano, because the keys and the piano hammers. That's why they designed the QWERTY keyboard, because when they were using, they're all snarled up. The cars are snarled up again. But yeah, that's why they have the QWERTY keyboard. It was designed to slow you down, so that you didn't get the hammers all messed up, tangled together. The first electrical typewriters might have been even louder, with the head shot forward and hitting the paper. I mean, I feel like the loudest thing was always when you hit enter, because you hit enter and then the thing just goes slam. Azerty is better and more accents. There are like several different types of, I don't know what they're called, but like layouts for keyboards that make it so that you can type a lot faster. I never learned those ones though. I only ever learned QWERTYs, or like the QWERTY system. So I still type relatively fast with QWERTY, but I probably could, after I learned where all the letters were, I could probably type a lot faster with some of the other ones. There is this musical piece that the typewriter. Ah, okay. I know Ovark is fantastic. Yeah, like I don't know what they're called. They're not really common here in the United States. But I mean, when you're not typing the English language, then, you're definitely not going to be using the QWERTY keyboard, so. But yeah. The ASCII characters produced by Enter on Windows are still called CR and LF. Carriage return and line feed. Are they? That makes sense. Yeah, because it was like based off of typewriters. So, All right, I'm going to move the camera again. I think, probably. We're still going to be at the horn of the anvil, but I just want to have a little bit of variety in my shots. Okay, that's good. So we're not getting too terribly much variety, but a little bit. I know, but you also do not use proper measurements. You measure in football fields. I do. I measure in football fields. Anything to not have to measure in miles. I mean, we measure in football fields and blue whales and giraffes. Blimps. All right. So we've got a pretty decent width on that end. This is not what I was comparing to. I think all my stuff is on that other side. But what we're going to do is we're going to do one more heat on the face of the anvil with this guy. And then we're going to turn it around, work a little bit on the transition between the blade and the handle. We might get a little bit farther today than I originally anticipated. Oh, I think I already hit that. Goodness. Man. So I think people are starting to leave or work early because, like I said, there's construction down the road that direction. And it's a one-lane road. And so you've got one of those people who like twist the stop sign and the slow sign and all of the cars are backing up in front of the house. So it's going to be really, really difficult to get out of the driveway to get our groceries tonight. Or barley corns. Yeah, we use barley corns too sometimes, and like corn cobs and all kinds of crazy stuff. I think one of the popular units of measure these days is bananas. Bananas is a weird thing to use as a standard unit of measurement. But yeah. So like I said, we are working on the handle of our butter knife. Banana for scale, yes. There's a Facebook group that deliberately uses bananas for scale on everything. I think it's like Board Man or something like that. Are bananas used as a measure for length or for angle? Length, or I guess size. Like area? Because what people do is they put stuff down and then they put a banana next to it for scale. So it's not really a unit of measure or like traditional unit of measurement. It's kind of just like a banana for scale. People also use quarter for scale or dollar for scale. I've seen both of those, quarters and dollars used for scale as well. But yeah, like I said, banana is often used as a scale because bananas, for whatever reason, somebody decided that bananas all grow the same size. And there aren't bananas that are this long and bananas that are this long. And you measure in thumbs. There are actually dollar coins in the United States, as well as 50-cent pieces. They are both very uncommon, just like a $2 bill is also uncommon. But those are all three units of American currency. Sounds like old Island Metal Forge and Lexi and Yamas compared everything to nanners. Yeah. A lot of people compare things to bananas. I think I'm going to use that, maybe. Oh, wait, my ad break is... I have an ad break right now. I was going to do a heat, but I have an ad break now. And I thought I had one already. Maybe that was the indication that there was going to be an ad break or something. Man. It's crazy how many people are just like sitting in front of my driveway out there. There are no €1 bills I know of. Up to $2 is coins. Or back before the euro, we had 5 DM coins. What is more Italian, shotguns or marinara? I don't think I have the ability to comment on that. I don't know anything about Italian culture. Aside from, you know, Italian food. But I feel like most of the Italian food I'm familiar with is Americanized Italian food. So, like I said, I don't really feel like I have the experience to comment on that. There were also 10 DM coins, but those were rather collector's pieces. Were there? Yeah. What is a DM? Is that Dutch mark? Maybe. All right. And now I'm going to do that heat that I was going to do and before the ad rudely interrupted me. They made shotguns hundreds of years before tomato came to Europe. Interesting. All right. So we've got a handle starting right here. I need to make it a little bit longer, but I don't know that we're going to get too terribly much longer for the moment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this around to this direction, and we're going to start kind of shaping ourselves a butter knife like blade. I want to make this a little bit longer and flatter. So whatever we have left after we're done with it, we'll turn it into more handle. We did just get rid of the penny. So we can't say a penny saved is a penny earned anymore. I mean, we could technically, because I mean, it's a phrase that's been grandfathered in. There's a lot of other phrases that have kind of been divorced from their origin. What the holy Heckenheimer is a penny farthing. You can still say it. the penny farthing still gets made. Is that like an English coin? Oh, it is a Deutschmark. Okay. Giant wheeled bicycle. Oh, okay. Yeah, they do still make those bikes. They're very uncommon and kind of specialty. Huge front wheel and a tiny little rear wheel. Yeah. That is definitely a thing. So when I was in college, there was this girl who really enjoyed bringing weird items that she found at art or antique stores to school. And one day she brought a unicycle, and another day she brought a penny farthing bike. So I've seen them both in person. She rode the unicycle. I think somebody else ended up riding the penny farthing. I didn't ride either of them. I think I would have fallen off. But yeah, they still get made. They're still out there. It's weird looking though. If you're using penny farthing as a currency, something has gone very wrong. Barter. We're going to go back to bartering. When I was a kid, I sometimes got $1,000 bill for my birthday from my grandparents. Unfortunately, it was 1,000 Belgian francs, so about 25 euros. Yeah, there's a lot of currencies that have been consolidated into smaller denominations. You take a few zeros off. I think in the peso at one point, they took a couple of zeros off of the peso so that it would be a little bit more competitive as a currency. That was the Italian lira. I see. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, when the EU happened, they consolidated a lot of the European currencies. Do you guys still use your national currencies, or is everything in euros? But meanwhile, the lira is gone, as well as Deutschmark, shilling, French francs, Belgian francs. We changed from franken to euros. 40,336 Belgian francs is €1. Oh, everything is in euro. I see. I wasn't sure if like internally you were able to use um, the national currency and then you could change into euros if you wanted to. But it makes more sense if you only have one currency that you deal with anyway. So, you know, it makes sense. I just wasn't sure, you know? So I don't know. Maybe those currencies are like monopoly money or, you know, collector's items now. I'm getting really distracted by all these cars out there. All right, let's do another heat. No, you can still change Deutschmarks if you happen to find it, but only at the National Bank. Okay. I think we're going to go there. Maybe not. Yeah, that'll be okay. All right, we're going to start shaping this end of this knife. We want it to kind of curl a little bit. And we got some fish lips forming, and so I'm going to have to address those in just a moment. So we're going to gather more heat, let it soak for a little bit. That way we can deal with these fish lips. Fish lips, fish lips. What's the banana to euro exchange rate? 40 bunch to €1. That's the worldwide standard known everywhere. I don't know. I think the last I knew, bananas here in the United States were, I think I guess not in the in my area, at my grocery store. I think the last time I checked, it was $3.99 for a pound of bananas. And to be picky, technically it was not the EU. The Eurozone is connected, but a different thing. Some countries use the euro, but are not part of the EU, and not all EU members use the euro. Okay. I'm not sure that that makes sense to me, but you know, I'm sure it makes sense to someone. Yeah, I'm not amazingly familiar with the geopolitical situation in Europe, unfortunately, as far as like who's in the EU and who's not. Unless it's duct taped to the wall, then it's worth a fortune. Yeah, that's also very true. That was a very strange installation. Quick Trip always has bananas for 39 cents a pound, does it? I wonder where they're getting them from, if they're getting them that cheap. Well, we could go on about the senselessness of the US. I mean, we could. But yeah, we are not encouraged to learn about other countries here in the United States. And I mean, it's a shame because there's so much history and culture all across the world. Um, but, you know, I can only learn what I, have the opportunity to learn. So we have four important unions: the EU, the Euro Union, the Schengen area, and the NATO. You will always find a state which is part of some but not some other. That makes sense. That makes sense. Geography. Yeah, you guys think the world started in 17 something or other. I mean, the United States started in 1776. I almost ended up being a banana farmer in the Dominican Republic one time when I lost my passport. Ooh, losing your passport is always awful. So then you have to go to the embassy and you have to go through a whole bunch of like rigmarole. Switzerland, for example, is not part of NATO, EU, or the Eurozone, but they have joined the Schengen area. I see. My house was built in the 14th century. Yeah, I mean, nothing here is that old that is still. Well, I guess technically, okay, that's a big old fat lie. That's a big old fat lie. Because I live right near uh, the mounds. What Monk's Mound? The I don't know why I want to call it Makokata, but it's not that. What is it? It is but yeah, they're Native American structures. Monk's Mound is a giant like pyramid, almost like the Mayan and Incan pyramids. Um, but yeah, so those are way older than anything else here in the area. I mean, those are like, I believe that those mounds were old when the Native Americans that were here when the initial settlers came. What they were old dead to that race. They didn't want to let me through customs to get back on the cruise ship. Yeah. That's always unpleasant. Yeah, they are. What are they? I want to say. I had it in my head. What is it? What is that park? I can't even remember. That's so bad. I live right next to it. Well, not right next to it, but like, you know, I live near it. Okumunji Mounds, according to Wikipedia. That's not what they're called on the park sign, but it could be. It could be another name for them. Sweden is part of the EU and the Schengen area also since recently the NATO, but they still use the crown, not the euro. Okay. All right, I'm going to do another heat. Yeah, that's in Georgia. These are in Illinois. Cahokia Mounds. That's what they're called, the Cahokia Mounds. There's evidence there used to be a giant city there. All right, we're starting to get a little bit of a shape. I want to widen this out a little bit. Over here, I kind of want to keep this where it's at so I can turn that into handle. But yeah, we're going to get a pretty nice length of butter knife, spreading knife. Woohoo! Blue Red Metal has a 10 stream streak. That is crazy. Eleanor, that is a woman. Eleanor is a traditionally female name, yeah. So welcome Blue Red. So today we are working on the butter knife for the fork, knife, and spoon project that we've been doing. So we have our fork here, we have a spoon here, and we're working on the knife right now. So I think they're pretty decent. I think that I made the handle of the fork a lot longer than the handle of the spoon, and so we've got much more, or a much larger scroll on the end. But I still think it looks pretty good. I remember the times before Schengen when we sometimes had to wait for quite some time at the Belgian border. I don't know. I've never been able to travel to Europe. I've always wanted to, specifically to like Belgium and Belgium and some of those countries, because I studied the Northern Renaissance when I was in art school. There is some beautiful paintings that came out of Denmark and Belgium and that entire area. I like their fries. Oh, we have some nice little things here. Yeah, there are some amazing. I'm sure there's more than just art there too. You know, you've got really good culture. You've got tulips. Um, I don't know. I don't know. That's about all I know. Um, you've got fries. I like fries. They make good beer. Oh, do they not? Does Belgium not have the tulips? I suppose it's probably, what, Denmark, Netherlands. Yes, the Netherlands. I think if I went to Europe, it would be France for Baroque ironwork. Tulips are in the Netherlands. Okay, we have fries and beer. Life and Pain, welcome to the stream. Hello. Howdy. What happened to the fork? Right here. So let's show you what we've been up to. So this is the fork that we started. We finished this one up on Wednesday, and then, or no, we finished this one Monday, and we started a spoon on Wednesday. We finished that up today, because today is Friday, because I know what day it is today, right? So this is the spoon that we just finished up today in the first hour of our stream, and now we're working on a knife to go with the set. I guess it goes like this, you know, so then the ends can be, you know, going the same direction. I guess it could be opposite, but you know, same direction. I gotta pay attention when I do the scroll on the knife so that I put it in the direction that the place setting would have it. So in a standard place setting, or I guess a traditional place setting, you have all your forks on the left-hand side ordered by course, and then you have your plate on the inside. And I'm trying not to drop these tools. So then you have your plate, and then you have your spoon and your knife with the blade facing inward. So I gotta remember to make sure that the blade of the knife has the same direction as the scroll. You guys are gonna have to remember for me, because I'm gonna forget. I'm gonna forget. And we have the best chocolate in the world and the best waffle fries. Or best waffles, yes. Belgian waffles. We have Belgian waffles here. I don't know how accurate they are to Belgian, like true, genuine Belgian waffles. Waffles for sure. I will cry when my double-sided Belgian waffle press makes its final waffle. You can order them, easy to get. Interesting. The butler does not like breakfast food, and that includes waffles. I know that you don't have to eat waffles for breakfast, but that's typically when we eat waffles, and the butler doesn't like breakfast food. So I don't know. Maybe we should turn waffles into like other types of bread. All right, let's do a little bit more shaping on this knife. Even after my mom spent most of her life reminding me how to do a place setting, I still never got it. I had to learn when I was a caterer, I think. Maybe that's not when I learned. I don't remember. Maybe it was when I was a wedding decorator. I've had so many jobs, guys. I don't know that I've actually told you guys all of the different jobs I've had. But yeah, I've had a lot of jobs. I've got a little bit of an angle going here on the edges on both sides, so I'm kind of trying to correct that. We're going to gather more heat first, though. Let's compare. I've had a lot of jobs, too. Let's compare. 12 jobs, 13 accidents, another Dutch saying. Something like that. Honestly, I've lost track of how many jobs I've had. I mean, okay, we can count them. I worked at the concert venue, and then I worked at a child care facility at the same time as I worked at a grocery store. And then from there, I worked at a Taco Bell. And then after that, I worked at, what was after that? I don't remember exactly after that, but I worked at 2 different pizza places. I worked at a events place. Oh, I worked at 2 different events places. That's what it was. So that puts me at 8. So then I worked at Lowe's, which is a hardware store. I worked at Amazon for 4 days. I worked at at the jewelry store. So I guess that's 11. So maybe I don't have as many jobs as I remember. I frequently make waffles Ligier style, looser waffling, with heavy yeast, not to be confused with Brussels style, which are more lighter. Well, John, that makes him okay in my book. I think I missed the first half of that. I knew something was off with the butler. Couldn't put my finger on it, but he's part of the Breakfast Club haters. I mean, the butler eats crepes, but he doesn't like waffles and pancakes. Or, I mean, he also eats dry cereal, but I also eat dry cereal. But I'm also lactose intolerant, so I can't eat milk in my cereal unless I take pills, and I just don't think cereal is worth taking a pill for. Brussels style are bad. Lijoy's waffles are fantastic. You should try goat milk. I've had goat cheese and I've still had problems with it. But it might also be like in combination with something else. So I don't know. I don't know. I seem to remember spending a few mornings in McDonald's getting breakfast. The butler goes to McDonald's and gets the steak breakfast because it's basically just like a hamburger patty. It's a little bit better than a hamburger patty, but it's not that much different. Not that much different. Of course, you need Lijoy's waffles with ice cream and melted chocolate. Is that what they make ice cream cones out of? Oh, there's an incoming ad break. So once this ad break is over, I will do my next heat. No, that's not what it's made of. Okay. See, I wasn't sure. Waffle cones are a thing, and those waffles are really thin waffles, but Belgian waffles are really thick, so I wasn't sure what the different types are called. That I don't know, but I don't manage so far to get them right. They tend to turn out rubbery. Ligier style is much easier, and they get better over time when the waffle iron accumulates puddles of caramelized sugar. Yeah, they're too rubbery. I have no recollection of the events you describe. I plead. The Ronald Reagan. All right, I'm out of water. If I get thirsty again, it will be Gatorade o'clock. But yeah, not a fresh made, right? But I can't do it. Man, there's a lot of things that I feel like I should be able to make, and you try to make them by the recipe, and they still don't turn out right. There are many things called crumb cake, but they look like thin waffles. You shape them into cones. Oh, okay. Is that it? Because they're also like, there's these like cookie things that almost look like they are made similar to ice cream waffle cones. But they're these little cookies, and they're about yay thick, and they're about yay round, and they're like caramel cookies, and they have waffles on the outside, and I get them on airplanes. Ooh, it's a Wikipedia article about waffles. Ligier style waffles. I like waffles because, especially for breakfast, because they have all of the little slots that can hold all of the syrup or fruit or whatever you're having on your waffle. This is just a picture from the article. Okay. Let me click on it and we'll see what this waffle looks like. What kind of waffle are we talking? Oh, I've seen those waffles before at the fair. Pinella's cookies. See, I don't know what type of cookies they are. I can't remember. I just know they are the Butler's Rage cookies. Because I used to buy them for the Butler, and they came in a box about yay tall. And what I would do is I bought them, and the Butler would bring them to their car and eat them while they were in traffic, because they work in St. Louis, and we live like forever away. So their commute is like an hour and a half. So when it gets really slow, they eat the Rage cookies, and they're like the little thin waffle cookies. Mind the coat of molten and caramelized sugar. Pizzelle. It might be those. I don't know. I don't know what kind of cookies they are. I never paid attention. I just like the Butler bought them the first time, and then I was like, oh, that's what they look like. And so I just got them off the shelf of the same ones. I didn't even read the box. Lego my ego. All right, let's do another heat now that the ad is done. We've got lots and lots of heat going on. So let's move some metal. Metal moving. Rage cookies. All right. So right now I'm correcting a little bit of a shift in the edge so that I don't end up making weirdness, or so that it doesn't get worse as we go. So our next heat, I think I'm going to shape this nose up a little bit. We don't have quite the round shape that I'm looking for, so we're going to take a look at that and see what we can do. I want to widen out this whole thing as we go, so we might end up changing surfaces to the cross. Pre-age 14, workload on local farms. Started at age 14. Apple orchard, college bookstore, then house painter, 2 companies. Pipe organ builder, apprentice, started my own painting business, property management company, then full-time construction carpentry, 2 companies. Started my own carpentry business. That's a lot of jobs. Also, take care when removing these waffles from the iron. I made some with a friend, thought they could take them with bare hands, and the dough cools off quickly. If you can grab it, all is fine and dandy until you hit a puddle of molten sugar with your... Ooh! Molten sugar is not fun to touch. That stuff, it just keeps on burning. It's like hot glue. It just keeps on burning, and it sticks there. I'm old, lots of jobs. So I haven't had what I would consider a real job in about 6 years, 6.5, something like that. And before that, I was working at the jewelry store. So I could have had a lot of jobs in between. Although I think I probably, if I had stayed at the jewelry store, I probably would still be at the jewelry store. If I did not end up getting too sick. So he learned that lesson by pain. I mean, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I see pro chefs that keep a bowl of ice water near when they're making something with melted sugar. Yeah, it will stick to you. Like you have to submerge your hand in water to just get it off. It's awful. Also, if you burn it, it smells awful, and that smell lingers for days. It's awful. Days and days. Oh, you know what? I was going to get more water, but I'm out of water. I think I'll be okay. We don't have that much time left. I will be ending stream on time today. So at the 2.5-hour mark. So in thereabouts of 15 to 20 minutes. I have a few things that I need to get done today. So unfortunately, I will have to raid and run here in a few. But I hope you guys have had a blast. I know I have. I will do a couple more heats between now and the end of the stream, though. So you can stick around for those if you like. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful day and have an amazing weekend. All right, let's do another heat. You had many jobs. I am in my 3rd long-term job now, and I'm in my 40s. A lot of the jobs that I had, I left because I was other opportunities came up, and I wasn't making a lot of money. With them. All right, so I'm going to do another heat where we are going over the tip of this knife, and then we're going to continue widening out the blade. So yeah, I also had a lot of like temp jobs, where they were like more seasonal stuff. Like my wedding vendor job, I used to work as a wedding decorator, and I only worked for that one for about 2 years because the off season, like the winter time, it was really hard, and I didn't make a lot of money. So I had to leave that job because it cost me more to get to the job than I was making at the job. So I was forced to quit that one, and When I was working at Taco Bell, I ended up being forced to quit that job because it was conflicting with a class that I had. And yeah, so I wish I'd have been able to do some more longer term jobs. And I did do a few of them here and there, but I had a lot of really small, short jobs. I don't spend a lot of time in your chat stream, but the time I do is always interesting. I usually keep your stream on and mute the tabs so you get credit for the view. Well, I appreciate that, you know? I appreciate all of your support in the views that you guys give me, you know? I had one temp job after school for some weeks at university. I had several tutoring jobs and such. Those are pretty good jobs when you're still in school. That's how I ended up at the Taco Bell. It was the Taco Bell in the student union. So I got that job because I was trying to pay some bills, and it was really easy to get that job, but it ended up conflicting with one of my classes, and I couldn't skip the class. And if I skipped the class and I ended up failing the class, I would have lost the job anyway. So it was like damned if you do, damned if you don't, you know? But yeah. And the rest of them, I mean, you know, various reasons as to why I left. But yeah. One of them, I worked at one of the pizza places, and the pizza place went out of business, and the owner didn't tell me until I showed up for the last shift. My manager was like, "We're closing down permanently, so this is your last shift," and I never got my last paycheck. Very nice, right? So yeah, the paycheck before had bounced, and then I never got my last paycheck. So for a month, I worked for free, and it stunk. Um, and I went to try, and I went to the bank that all of the checks were at, and he just like disappeared. So I couldn't track him down. Not even the bank could. It sucked. All right, let's do another heat. Oh, I remember another place I worked. I worked at a theater. A movie theater. Alright, more heat. I'm gonna do one more heat after this guy, and then we'll probably raid off. Bankrupt is bankrupt. You can't even sue them for money if there's none left. That's exactly what happened. I couldn't sue because there was nothing left. And I was probably one of the lowest men on the totem pole as far as like where the funds that were left got divvied to. But yeah, I used to work at a movie theater. So that was actually a pretty good job. It was pretty cushy. I got to watch all of the movies that were coming out a weekend early because they had to put together the films, because that was back before they sent the films digitally to the theaters. So they actually had film, and so they would build the reels, and so we would get to watch them, because after they built them, somebody had to watch them through to make sure that they did it right. So that was free. And then anytime I wasn't working, I could call them up and be like, are there any extra seats for X movie? And me and a friend could go and watch the movies for free. So that was a really cushy job. Except for the filthy bathrooms. A lot of people would get sick in theater bathrooms. My first real paying job was when I was in the 6th grade. I sold newspapers. I scrimped and saved to buy a bicycle from Sears. That was their version of the Schwinn Stingray bike. A couple of months after I paid it off, it got stolen. Ooh, that is sad. It got stolen. That's not fair. You worked real hard for that. I'm sorry. It's always fun to like work and earn the stuff that you want, but then to have it stolen, that would have been really sad, you know. All right, I think I'm gonna do one more heat. We're gonna see what we got here. We're thinning out the blade. We're gonna finish this guy on Monday because we could probably spend another whole stream on this. All right. So it's still pretty darn thick. We've got plenty of material to make that a little bit wider, maybe a little bit longer. And then we've got this nice bolster here that I'm going to turn into more handle. I'm going to lengthen that out quite a bit. So we can kind of compare these guys. So this is the shortest one so far. So we'll see if we can't make that a little bit longer overall. Like I said, we've got a lot of width there, and I think we can shoot that out a little bit further. All right. But that's for another day. That's for Monday's stream. Do you have a buffing wheel to give them a nice shine? I do. We will definitely be shining those up and using a grinding wheel on them to make sure they're nice and pretty. So yeah, we will do a lot of finishing on them. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've had a blast. I hope you guys have. Happy 13th, Friday the 13th, and hopefully you guys have a great weekend and have fun on Valentine's Day tomorrow. So thank you all for joining me, and I will see you guys on Monday. Thank you, and have a nice day. Hope you have a great weekend. Thank you. You as well. Whoops, that's not the right button. That is. See y'all on my Tuesday morning. See you, Lexi. Bye, Mahalo. Ping. Blue Red. Have a wonderful weekend. Rest of your day. And I'll see you on Monday. Let's see who we're raiding off to, though, first. What do we got? Let's go raid Mr. Boombody. We haven't raided Mr. Boombody in a while. some games. Okay. That's cool. Maybe we will find another person then. We can go with Courtney. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, guys.